Hello everyone, welcome to the pamphlet. What if I tell you that George Soros is the new age Kali Yuga? Do give your answer to this in the comment section below. But before that, hear what Professor Alexander Dugin has to say on this.
I don't think that Soros is hostile to India. In my opinion, he is just the devil. He is incorporation of devil. For in your tradition, it is easy to imagine some asura becoming men and making the evil things for everybody. So your Puranas are full of such persons, or Ravana, for example, in Ramayana. So there are demons, and they could become men. So Soros, I think that is the name of demon. So he hates not India or Modi or Russia or Putin or Islam or Erdogan or Trump. He hates everything that is good, beautiful, strong and traditional. He is a modern version of Kali Yuga.
Before we talk more about this, Professor Alexander Dugin is an eminent Russian political philosopher and strategic thinker. Recently, Dugin was interviewed by Sputnik India, and in this interaction of over 50 minutes, he talked about various issues and his opinions on them. For example, Akhand Bharat, Decolonisation, India-China ties, Soros versus India, Ukraine-Russia war, BRICS and de-dollarization. You can watch the full interview on Sputnik India's Twitter handle. But let's talk more about Professor Dugin's argument in this entire interview, as he specifically talked about Indian interests. The first question asked by interviewer Krishan Mohan Mishra was about Akhand Bharat to Professor Dugin, who talked about the civilizational state and gave example of Russia, and on similar lines talked about India, or we could say Akhand Bharat. Here's what he said about Akhand Bharat.
Akhand Bharat, it is not idea to expansion of Indian state. It is idea to revise Indian civilization from outer position to inner position. So that you should situate the subjects, the axis, the thinking center inside of this civilization and not outside, because we are normally we consider ourselves with the Western eyes. We interpret Russian society, Indian society by the criteria of similarity or distance from the Western norms and dogmas and Western concepts. So if they are similar to Western, they are considered to be good and progressive. If they are different, so they say it is delayed, it is under the development, and so on. So the subject that serves to us to understand ourselves is situated outside of our civilization. If we start to change this regime and affirm that Russian world and Russian civilization should be measured by the Russian criteria, by Russian interest, by Russian traditional values, we receive something different. So I think the same, it is the main idea of Akhand Bharat.
Akhand Bharat is not just about politically united Indian subcontinent with geographical borders. It's much more than that. Our cultural, ethos, traditions have been same since hundreds of years, and this is the binding factor of the Indian civilizational state known as the Akhand Bharat. For your information, a civilization state is a country that aims to represent not just a historical territory or an ethnic group, but a unique civilization in its own right. And India is a classic example. Talking about civilizational state, one thing which is paramount, riddance from decolonizations. Here's what Dugin said about it.
So first of all, I think that the names, they are very, very important. So the names are not just arbitrary terms given for something that exists for sure. I rather agree with the concept of Namarupa, where the name and the form are intrinsically linked to each other. So you could not have Rupa without Nama, thing without name. Yes. So they belong to each other, they intervene. So right name, it is the right thing should be called by right name. If you miss to call things by its right name, you corrupt it. So if your country is properly named as Bharat, that the nature of the country changes, because that is context of Nama Rupa. So there is Rupa of India, there is Nama. And Nama Rupa of India, when we call it by the Nama name, Bharat is one thing, India the other. It's India much more colonial. That is the name given to India mostly by colonizers.
Decolonization. This word, you must have heard about it quite a lot in the recent days. It's basically undoing the effects of colonization and embracing one's original civilizational culture. Notably, in the last 10 years, India has sought to decolonize its institutions, places, among other things. The British era insignia of the Indian Navy was changed in 2022 as part of the Indian government's decolonization effort. Another example was the redevelopment and renaming of erstwhile Rajpath known as Kartavya Path in New Delhi. This is a vital step for India to reconnect with its civilizational roots, which were originally harmed by colonization. Now coming on to the next important part, that is George Soros. You saw a video in the start. Professor Dugin stating that Soros is just another asur and the new age Kali Yuga. According to Professor Dugin, Soros is against anything good or successful and reasons this to be his motive for opposing Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now do you want to know what Dugin said about the Congress party? Watch this clip.
I don't want to blame Congress. Congress is traditional structure, social, political for India, but too much influenced and is more and more influenced by this liberal globalism, by Soros network. So its original core is, in my opinion, more or less healthy and sane, traditionally Indian. But now there is a kind of involution, the kind of perversion of this core.
According to Professor Dugin, Congress has become influenced by the Soros network. This statement runs parallel with the allegations on the Congress party by many, including its rival, the BJP, that grand old party and Rahul Gandhi are being influenced by George Soros and foreign powers. Billionaire George Soros is famous for his regime change operations in foreign nations and is considered part of the US deep state. Several Indian political commentators have alleged that Soros and his funded NGOs have been attempting to influence Indian political scenario, trying to establish and peddle a narrative against the nationalist ideology. One thing which we can clearly agree with Professor Dugin is that world is filled with asurs and we have to be careful to protect our civilization, culture and nation from them.